What's going on, everybody? Alex from Trail Theory here. Figaro, I love it. Here to do a pack shakedown. We've done this in the past. Excited to share a bit about what comes with me on the trail. This does not come with me on the trail. We're gonna start with a very small component of my kit, which is my fanny pack, which is the Hyperlight Versa. I go with white because I like for it to look like absolute shit after I've used it a few times. Just good contrast to outfits, whatever. So usually wear this the whole time. The beauty of this, I think for me personally, is I can use, or I can take my phone, I can put my charge bank in there. I can kind of like carry it around camp if I have to carry something small, and just have like basically an extra big pocket rather than just my clothes. So let's get into it here in just a second, but we'll start here. I always kind of rock a bandana typically on the trail. I'd be lying if it wasn't a little bit for show, but it's also generally catches a little bit of sweat. And sometimes if like sweat's coming around my face, I can clean that up. So little bandana, a little bit of color. All right, let's get into this thing. First, we have a pocket knife. I rock, I forget the exact model number, but is from the James brand. Wife got this for me for Father's Day a long time ago. Great, nice, sharp tool. I'm gonna start over there and see how clean we can get this table to look. All right, then we get into the main body here, and there's not a ton in here, right? So first up is the Storm from Black Diamond, my headlamp. I have the rechargeable version. It is very bright, as evidenced by you sharing it in the camera. Great tool. I think it's been said so many times on the podcast how important this is. I want to say when we did, and you guys can remind me on it, when we did the top items of your pack, I want to say this was on all of ours in some capacity, maybe? I think it was on mine, or maybe I pulled it out at some point. But at any rate, very, very important tool when you need it. All right, so then I typically carry Tylenol or Advil. I usually carry it in this little dorky kind of travel to go thing. Like a little bit of safety on the trail. Next up is my lip balm. As silly and goofy as it sounds, I use this brand from Lanolips, which is made of lanolin from sheep. So it's, I don't know, it's interesting, but it kind of works on everything. It's kind of like a lotion. It's good for your lips. It's good for windburn. They call it a 101 ointment, so you can kind of use it for everything, which is cool. Set that guy over there. So then, this is a little dorky thing, but if you've ever bought Smart Wool socks, they come with this kind of fancy little goofy rubber band around it, which is just a piece of fabric. I keep them just for extra, you can wrap them around things, whatever. Just kind of a useful tool. They weigh nothing. Except Brian, you probably weighed one before. It's probably like 0.2 ounces. Darn tough. Yeah, well, good brands. Next, I have a notebook, which I don't write in a whole lot, but I like taking it because every time I'm out there, it's nice to have something that's not my phone that can be analog. This is just a standard moleskin kind of vibe. And a blue pen, always a blue pen. All right, and that's it. Oh, I should, always carry Pepto on the trail. We have learned a few times before that this is a useful tool. I probably need more than 2 in my kit, but I've got 2 to start. So that's all that goes in the fanny pack until we get to camp. And then usually there's a snack of some sort and any extra thing I just need to carry around camp. So that's that. All right, next, we're gonna get into this beefy thing. Oh my gosh. So this is my kit. I'm gonna keep this up here and go through kind of what's on the outside. This is the Hyperlight Mountain Gear Southwest. Also white because I like to make it look like shit over time. So we'll kind of get in on the outside here. I'm not really sure where to start, but this is gonna be kind of a fun little journey here. We are gonna start right here with the important stuff. This is my tripod. I kind of strap it to the top. It's something I probably don't use enough. If I'm shooting like astrophotography or something at night, I like having it. But have we used it for the podcast before? Yeah. We have, okay. So good use there. The thing that's the most critical, and I'll go through my camera stuff here in a minute, this ball kind of moving head, if I can get it to loosen up, is, there it goes, is probably the most beneficial thing. So I can like really shift my movement of my camera really micro without having to do a bunch of things or move things around. So that's that. And that is the, I don't know if there's a specific model number, but it's by Joby. Great tool, super useful. All right, next, this wonderful thing. Everyone has probably heard us talk about this, but this is an Aerobie. It is basically a, oh my gosh.
Yeah, don't break the camera.
All right, someone else starts whipping around. But this is, as you've seen, essentially a glorified Frisbee. You can chuck it a mile long. We use these always on the trail. They're a blast. Lots of fun. And it sits on the outside of your pack. Next up, we have the Z-Pad seat, which, if you have listened to the podcast, is a great spot to stand on when you are getting changed, when you are getting in and out of water, if you are taking a dip, or if you need to take a shit. You can also use this to stand on and keep your feet clean while you're taking your pants off. Also ultra light. All right, so we'll get in on the sides here. All right, so we have probably talked ad nauseum about this son of a gun. There's kind of a two-part system here for hydration. I use the Catadyne Be Free, which is this guy, and I couple it with a Hydro Pack little water bladder. I believe it's a 1 liter system. Yep. And so this guy comes with a standard water bladder, but I've got a little pinhole in it, so I decided to upgrade for a little more of a durable option from Hydro Pack. A little bit heavier, but a little more strength as far as durability. All right, next up, on Spirit of Water, also do a smart water bottle for the other liter. Typically carry 2 liters. If I were to carry 3, I would have another one of these, so there would be 2 of these plus the Hydro Pack, but typically just 1. We're typically on trails that we can get access to water. Set this down here, it doesn't deserve to be on the table. The next thing in here, this has been with me for a long time. This is really ridiculous, but it is a contractor garbage bag. Nothing fancy, but this thing's thick as hell. I like using it. It might be kind of ridiculous to carry, but ultimately it could serve too as a crappy poncho if I needed it. But basically, just like to put my pack in this. Some of the vestibules on more ultralight tents is a little bit small, so water comes in from the bottom or comes in from the side. Like to make sure that pack stays dry. All right, so next up, let's see. The outside's getting kind of thin here. All right, so next up is my raincoat, which I like to keep on the outside. Typically on the trail, it folds into itself, but on the trail, I just kind of stuff it in the outside. That way, if I need it quickly, it's available. This is the Patagonia Torrent Shell. Just a great, maybe not the lightest raincoat, but it's not failed me to this point. It's super comfortable. It's pretty damn durable. And like I said, it packs into one of the pockets. So really, really nice functional piece of gear. I'm gonna set that down there too so it doesn't take up the table. All right. Next up, we have my well, I guess I'm gonna call it a poo bag, my go bag. But this essentially typically has toilet paper in it. I also have the Deuce of Spades, which is my trowel to dig holes, which I'm gonna be honest, is kind of real shitty at digging holes. It's not really the easiest tool to use in the world, but I have it and I like digging holes with it. Next up, we have Gold Bond, the extra strength medicated kind, because nobody likes to chafe on the trail, and if you need it, and I have it. So other than that, really, the only other thing that I keep in here is I kind of more recently on trips started taking baby wipes, just as kind of an extra step, thanks to the gentleman here in the room that you can't see on camera. And this all goes into a lock sack bag, which is, I think, technically like an odor-proof bag or whatever, but they're just durable Ziploc bags, and they cost like 100 times the cost of a shitty Ziploc bag, so, which is probably like $5. Yeah, in case you have to pack your poo out. So that guy goes there. Okay, so that's, I believe, oh, this is a critical component here. All right, so on the other side of my pack, you will notice I have this, which is the Peak Designs capture clip. This is, I would say, I didn't say it is one of the most valuable pieces of gear I have, but I will say it's one of the most valuable pieces of gear I have now. But this sucker I can connect my camera to, which is incredible because I can just have it on the go. If we get to a challenging part of the trail, I can just chuck it on my shoulder and it's good to go. And then I don't think, yeah, nothing in the side packs, pockets. I think they're kind of annoying, honestly. I used to really use them, but once I got the fanny pack, I don't need them anymore. So, kind of only interesting. All right, set this guy down, start pulling this stuff out. All right, the first thing in here is the heaviest thing in my pack, because typically some of this is outside of my pack on my camera clip. So this is my camera bag, which is the most ridiculous piece of my kit, but I basically take a dry bag so that all my electronic gear can be dry if it starts to rain or we get into any level of inclement weather. And this is just, yeah, Sea to Summit. This thing's been with me a long time, so I'm not attached to it, but I'm attached to it. So we'll start with the camera gear. So first off is my camera. Currently using the Canon R5, incredible camera, really love this thing. It's been through a lot with me, but great tool for taking images. It's really durable, really expandable with the ISO, so I can get a lot of depth as far as sky imagery, but really fun to shoot on, just not super light. Next up, and I'll get into the lens setup that I have as well, but I'll talk cameras first. Next up, I have the Contax 167 MT, which is a film camera, 35mm camera. Like carrying a film camera lately. It's kind of a pain in the ass to carry because it's heavy, but love getting those types of images, and quite frankly, it's just fun to shoot on. Right on here, I've got the 1.7 50mm Carl Zeiss lens, which is ridiculously sharp, super fun to use. All right, we'll talk lenses first. So I'm a big fan of what I'm gonna say is like a 2-lens system. I like something that is more kind of just something I'm really comfortable with, which is like a 50mm or like a fixed prime lens, or just something that is really easy to shoot with, kind of what I'm most comfortable on. But then also I like to shoot something, like have a wide angle lens. So I've got a 14-35 here, which this is just a Canon RF lens, directly mounts to the R5. I've got a, I think just a standard lens filter on there. Yeah, UV filter just to keep everything safe. I have made the unfortunate error of not having a UV filter on every lens and went and scratched one once. So I highly recommend spending the, I don't know, $40 to get the UV filter. Next up is, this I'm gonna say is the workhorse. It's absolutely ridiculous to carry because it's heavy as hell, but this is the Canon 50mm 1.2. Insane lens. I look back at trips and I see the images that I shot on this, and typically my favorite ones come from this lens, which is, it's just, I guess, I learned to shoot on 50mm, so it's really obvious and evident to me why my images come out in a good way on that sense. Also on this, I've got I believe some level of filter. I can't see what it is, but basically I think it looks like a polarizer. Basically cuts down the shadows and kind of the glare from like a lake or from the sky. So there's that. Let's see what else. All right. So next up, standard issue, memory card guy, a little bit of a lens wipe just in case something gets crazy or gross. But I carry a bunch of memory cards. I'm of the mind that have a bunch of memory cards rather than one, because if one goes bad, you can just jump to the next one rather than have all of your kind of images locked on one memory card. So I haven't really had one fail, but that's kind of my thought. Also carry, as of recently, we haven't really used this on the trail a whole lot, but this is the Audio-Technica 8024, which is just kind of an on-camera mic. We've talked about doing some on-camera like interviews for people we run across on the trail, doing some quick questions, those kinds of things. Plan to use that more in the future, so look for more content with that. But a good piece of gear nonetheless. I always have some level of batteries for the R5. I typically carry like 2 or 3. I will say of all the things in my kit that I get the most like scared of, it's running out of batteries. So typically, while it's 2 to 3, I have carried more. I typically use about 1 a day though, is what I found. And that's if I'm not shooting a ton of video. Put those guys there. This is ridiculous. This is like, what's 1 bag? I'm 1 bag in. It's ridiculous. There's a lot of small things in here. It will get, the other things are a little easier. The next up is just my remote trigger. If I want to shoot like stars at night, those kinds of things, or if I want to shoot a photo of like the group, I can do it remotely and fire off a bunch of shots. Just makes it really easy rather than using the self timer and running back to the camera 100 times, which I personally find to be a total pain in the ass. So that really helps eliminate that. There's more. There's 3 more things in here. All right, so next up is film. Obviously, if I'm shooting a film camera, I need to have some backups. I'm typically a Kodak Gold guy, big fan of that, but also find myself shooting Portra as well. So there's that. We'll start with the boring thing, is just a charge bank. This is also ridiculously heavy, but also incredibly critical to charging things. I haven't ever needed it for batteries, but I use it for my phone, my watch, those kinds of things. So good to have. And it's still fully juiced. And then last but not least, finally, in this Mary Poppins bag, is just kind of a filter set that I have. These are from Earth. I'm a big fan of their products. They're I have all the UV filters I have are from Earth. They just make a really nice product. I also really like that their filters thread together, and then you can just kind of keep them as one like single unit together, which is great. So here I've got a graduated filter, excuse me, and then ethereal black mist filter, which just kind of adds a little bit of a texture and depth to images. Super fun to use. Good to have, nice to have all the tools in the arsenal. So that's the camera stuff.
Nerd!
I'm tired now. I'm tired. I need like a slice of cheese or something.
About backpacking.
Well,
All
all right, circle meat.
Here, buddy, fuel up.
Yeah, oh, look at that. Look at that. Service with a smile. Next up, it feels like a clothing bag. So let's get into it. I'll start by saying I use these Hyperlight pods. I'm not gonna be the only one on the podcast that talks about these. These are the large versions. I have the zipper top entry, and then as we get further into the bag, I have a side entry one. I'll explain the difference and why I use them separately. But these are great. I'm not the most organized person with my pack, but I feel like I'm getting there because I have these pods. I have a food bag, I have a shelter bag, I have a sleep bag, and I have a food bag, and a clothing bag, excuse me. I don't have one for my camera stuff yet, but I should solve that. But at any rate, we'll get into the clothing bag. All the goodies that are in here. First and foremost, my heavily loved and heavily damaged Patagonia Nano Puff. This thing has been with me on a ton of trails. It's all sorts of messed up, but it keeps me warm. I don't think there's a trail I go on. Is that gonna be fun? Is that gonna be a good sound? I use this thing on every trail because I get cold at night and I get cold by the camp. So I like having this sucker to keep me good and toasty. So that goes there. Next up, we have socks. I'm gonna just give you the greatest hits of what's in here. Socks, I'm definitely a Smartwool guy, but I also do own Darn Toughs for you that are gonna give me a hard time for that. I've just liked Smartwool for a long time, so for whatever reason, that's what I use most. But also have Darn Tough. I think there are a lot of other good options of socks, but that's what I use. Next up is an orange watch cap from a brand called Filson. Big fan of this. I think I've had 2 of these now. I just think a pop of color on the trail is really fun. And especially as kind of a photographer in the field, it's really enjoyable when folks wear something that really stands out in nature that's kind of like a little bit unlikely or unexpected. It also just kind of helps bring a little bit of attention in the photograph. So not that I'm getting photographed all that much by everybody, but there is one photo of me wearing that hat and I like it, so. All right, next up, so I try and pack kind of light in the kind of packed extra stuff. So this is kind of what I would typically wear, but also I would say, I think I have like duplicates of everything so that my packed clothes are basically a duplicate of what I wear on the trail. So if I get wet, I'm getting into the same kit essentially. So big fan of the Terrebonne Trail joggers from Patagonia. So these are pretty like lightweight. I took these on a trail as like, I don't know, sleep pants one time, and then I decided I was gonna wear them on the trail. I was also, much like Pfeiffer, a big fan of the Prana Zions, is that right? Stretch Zions. Big fan of those, but then I tried these. They're super lightweight, they're really durable, and they're just kind of ridiculously comfortable. I feel like I'm wearing pajamas on the trail. They're just really great, they're comfortable. Next up is some semblance of, I typically wear Viore t-shirts. I also have the long sleeve version of these. They wick sweat really well. They don't stink. Maybe that's just because maybe I'm just not a smelly person. But really great product, very comfortable. Have always liked what they're doing. Last but not least, in this bag, I have a towel from Nomadics. I think it's like the ultralight towel, whatever, but just a really nice product. If we're gonna jump into a lake or we get wet or I need to dry off, it's nice to have a towel. It also dries super fast. I wanna say it's microfiber. So it's quick dry, which is great. Allows me to not carry around a soaking wet towel. Good to have. All right, so that's the clothing bag. As we jump into the next one. Okay, this is gonna be my sleep bag. And it again is a top entry, hyperlight, large pod. All right, so we're gonna sound like a broken record because I think we all have the same one, but also this is my sleeping pad. I use the Nemo, I can't remember what version. It looks like, yeah, all season regular. So I've just got the skinny mini regular version, not the long, not the wide. All I do on mine is sleep. Some people like to do other things on them. I have not had one pop out in the backcountry. That's because I sleep on it as it's intended to be used. I will say they changed the models on these a bit. Maybe a year or two ago, I guess. Originally had one of the orange ones, which I'm not sure if the colors matter anymore, but the R value is significantly higher on the all-season one. I'm a little bit of a cold boy out there on the trails, so having the extra R value certainly is a good thing for me. Keeps me a little bit warmer while I'm out there. All right, so next up is my tent. Typically, I'm sharing with someone, some lucky soul on the trail with me that is willing to participate in sharing a tent. So I wouldn't necessarily carry all of this every single time. Usually I have a helper or someone that's willing to share the load, but I'm also currently rocking the Nemo Hornet 3-person. I have found, having owned the Nemo Hornet 2-person, that if you're gonna buy an ultralight tent, buy one size up. Because a 2-person is really a 1-person or a really cuddly situation, whereas I think a 3-person tent will be really comfortable for 2 people. So I pack it separately. It comes with a packing cube, but I stuff it into my system so that it's kind of organized. So here I've got the Rainfly. And then we've got the body of the tent. That sucker here. And then I also, for the sake of the durability of the tent, purchased the Footprint, which is kind of, maybe feels a little ridiculous, but the tent material, because it's ultralight, is super thin. So a little bit of durability gets me a little bit more use out of the tent. And then on the outside of the pack, I carry the tent stake, or the tent poles, and then the tent stakes. So Those go on the outside. And that's everything in that pod. Look at this, what a mess. I'm running out of space here, guys. Fortunately, running out of things to talk about, so. It's all this camera stuff, man. All right, so next up, also a Hyperlite large top entry bag is my food. Typically this thing is like bursting at the seams because there's candy. There's the important things about going out in the backcountry. But yeah, typically it's, you know, all sorts of snacks, standard meals, lunches, dinners, those kinds of things. I have a little bit of like the greatest hits in here, some of my favorite things. So we'll start there and then we'll talk about what else is in there. So typically a freeze-dried meal guy. I don't like to get super creative with my food just because I think it's easy to go buy something off the shelf, and we've done so many episodes about freeze-dried meals that are delicious. So this is the Bighorn Mountain Foods pasta carbonara, delicious. We have tasted those, I think, once or twice on the pod. They're super delicious, super yummy. Definitely recommend them. Next up is, I find these really easy on the trail, just Star-Kissed chicken creations. I have this in my house because I think the chicken salad ones are gross, so I have not used them, but I typically eat just like the chicken creation ones that are either like teriyaki or buffalo. So I do these, I carry tortillas, and then for lunch I'll do that kind of thing. Maybe throw in a little bit of hot sauce to mix it up, which brings me to my next thing. Single-use truff hot sauce. Big fan of this. Also really like sriracha, but once I was doing some research on single-use sriracha, I found single-use truff sauce and decided that was a decision. So now I have 1,000 packets of these things that I have to use up for the next like decade of backpacking.
And I want, it's not my business.
It's all yours. So then, all right, so then another freeze-dried meal just for shits and giggles. This one is just a chicken teriyaki, real standard stuff from my one day our friends at Mountain House. Next up is one of my favorite treats on the trail, Justin's peanut butter, the honey kind. I think the, I don't know, is it almond? I think they have an almond butter kind. I think that shit's gross. And I like almonds, but almond butter is kind of weird. I also think the standard like raw peanut butter kind is kind of gross, but you know, the honey kind, delicious. And I also think this is what I typically eat for breakfast, or like if I'm just kind of hangry and want a snack. Breakfast, I don't know why certain foods taste really vibrant to me. Probably because we're like working at a calorie deficit, but the peanut butter is delicious. Next up, one of the more important things in the pack is Alpine Start instant coffee. I really want to hate this stuff because I think instant coffee in theory is kind of gross, but it's so freaking easy that I like it. I think Alpine Start is the best kind out there. That's just my personal endorsement, but I would rather have an AeroPress on the trail, but a little more pain in the ass to carry and deal with. Next up, we have the $9,000 Snow Peak Spork. I'm saying it's expensive because I know someone else will say it's expensive. If I don't say it, I am becoming a Snow Peak junkie. I think their shit's really nice. This is about a $14 spork. You buy it once, you never need to buy it again unless you lose it. And it's lovely. Next up is this beautiful little Toaks container. I think the first person to have one was Pfeiffer. This is an amazing tool, and it also has some amazing functions. So this is, I think you said, is 750? Okay, 750 milliliters. But the beauty of this sucker is when you open it up, it holds your gas can and your MSR pocket rocket, or whichever stove of choice that you use. And then your can of gas. So that's lovely, wonderful. Boom, that's it. That's it for the food bag, cool? We got one more bag to go. All right, so now we're gonna get into like my sleep system. So the last thing here in my bag is, well, this is not, sleep is my last part of the bag, not this single piece, but this is the Nemo Philo. This is the self-inflating one. You can stuff, it says there's an internal stuff sack. That's a lot of work where I can just fold this sucker in half and just set it in my pack very easily. So that's how that goes in. And the last pod in my bag is not a top load Hyperlite bag. It is the side entry one. Now, reason being is I can stuff the hell out of this because it's got my sleeping bag in it. So I can scrunch it down and get all the air out of it so I can start real smart and small on the bottom of my pack. So let's open it up. So there's two things in here. First off is my sleeping bag, which I have been rocking the Nemo Disco, and I believe it's the 30-degree bag. I could be totally wrong, but it keeps me warm, keeps me cozy. So that goes in there. And then additionally, the last thing in here is my sleeping bag liner. Now, the sleeping bag liner seems like a big pain in the ass, and it kind of is. This thing is the Sea to Summit reactor. I want to say that they say it gives you like 15 degrees inside your bag. I don't know how they're measuring that, but you know, we'll see. It does keep me warm, and it is a good layer. Other added benefits of having this sucker is it keeps your sleeping bag clean, so it's kind of like a blanket inside your sleeping bag. So not saying you should sleep naked. It's a little weird to do that, but if you did that, this would be a really good tool to have inside your sleeping bag to keep it clean. So, you know, just if you're interested in doing that. And then I think that's it, guys. I think that's it. Voila, this is my kit. This is my shit. Hope you enjoyed.